Hello and welcome to my channel. Teresa's Crafty Cabana here, and I wanted to show you in this video how I use some different strings to create some really cool texture. I had this jute twine, I had a rope textured hemp. That looked really cool. And these have little fibers on them, and then I had some twine, and this was just non-shiny twine. I know some of the twine has shine to it, but I don't know if that makes a difference. And then I have some raffia that I'm gonna use. So I'm gonna make 8 prints total. They're gonna be kind of graphic looking prints, just with bright colors. And I'm gonna do a positive and a negative of each print with the rope or the twine or the string. So for my base coat, I'm gonna just put one color of paint down. These are acrylic paints from Hobby Lobby. They are from a set. They are a little bit shiny, so they're not matte colors. These are shiny colors. I'll link, if I can find the link for them on the Hobby Lobby website, I'll link them. But they are very, very vivid colors. I really liked the different selection of colors that they had. So for this first just plain color print, I'm just pressing down evenly just to pull up all that color. I let the paint dry onto the paper about a minute. So just in the time that it takes me to rub it down, it can be 1 to 2 minutes, but I think mine ended up being about a minute. And it pulled up pretty much all of the paint. I got a nice even transfer, and that's going to be my base color. So I'm going to do that for this green as well. This is almost like a lime green. I'm just going to do a nice even paint distribution with my brayer. And do the same process. I'm using my DIY or homemade placement tool to line these papers up. And the important part about lining them up the same way each time is for this base layer, it doesn't really matter, but as long as you get it kind of in the center of the paper. But then I'm going to be layering that string design on top, and so I want it to be covering the same area of paint. So that placement tool really does help. So for this next base color, it's going to be a really pretty aqua blue color. And as I'm pulling these up, you'll notice there's a little bit of green left over from the last one. Got onto the edges, which I really don't mind at all, especially once you see what I do with them. You'll see that you won't even really see that. So I did do an orange one also, I just didn't show that one, but same process, I did an orange one. And now I'm taking some Mars Black Paint by Winsor & Newton, and I'm just going to cover that evenly with a fairly thin coat, but not super thin. And then I'm taking my twine first, and I just have a pretty decent size that I cut. And I'm just kind of making some loops and just getting it all to fit onto the jelly plate, not being too particular. And then I'm taking that orange one first, the orange background, and I'm lining it up with that placement tool so that I know I'm getting the black over the whole colored area that I had done previously. And this has the rigid bumps from the rope or the twine, so I'm rubbing this over my brayer over the top of it to find where I need to press in really well. And just that little bit of leftover paint kind of highlights where all the rope is hanging out. So this helps me know in all the little gaps I can press down and really get a good transfer. And then the twine was already starting to pull up with the print, which was fine. It was okay because I was taking the twine off anyway, but I did want the paint and twine to dry a little bit just so it wouldn't smear. But this is what the first print looks like with the orange and the black. So now the paint had dried a little more with that twine, so I took the twine off, and now I'm going to do a nice bright yellow over the top. And so for this second pull of this rope twine look. I wanted to add a little more texture, so I'm using this lotus flower embossing folder that I just used that folder on a piece of 110-pound cardstock, and I'm just using that to create a little bit of texture on the edges of this print. And I'm working kind of fast because I want to pull my print before that paint dries. And again, this one I'm not going to layer anything else on top of, but I am using my placement tool just to make sure I'm getting into the center of my paper. If you want to see how I made this placement tool, I'll link that video in case you're curious how to make one yourself. So once that's rubbed in really well and the transfer is made, I can pull that up. This paper that I'm using is copy paper. It's 24-pound copy paper, so it's fairly thin, but it's a nicer quality of copy paper. And it has a little shine to it. So I've been enjoying Gelli plate printing on this particular copy paper. It holds up really well. So for my next one, same thing, I'm going to do just that black base coat. And now I'm using that rope hemp. And this one was really curly, so it was hard to kind of shape. It just wanted to do its own thing. And you might notice too, this one was very fuzzy. It has all these little fibers on this particular rope. So this one was a lot easier to feel through the paper because it was a lot thicker than the twine. So I could already just press and feel where I needed to press in between to get a good transfer. And then you can see the cool print that I get. These are the little thin fibers that showed up on the Gelli print. And this, when I took the rope off, you can kind of see there's like a little rope indentation, and I thought that was really cool. For whatever reason, my camera was a little blurry here, so I cut out some of this footage as to not torture your eyes. So real quick, I had used some bubble wrap and a snake textured embossing folder print, and then that's what I got to pull this blue on top of the rope. And then for my next one, it's going to be the raffia that I'm going to use. This one was also a little unruly, so I just let it do its thing. However it was going to stay into the center of the Gelli plate, I just kind of went with it. This is a little bit thinner, so I used my brayer again just to see where all those fibers were hanging out. So I knew where to press down. I really like how this one turned out. It looked very kind of cool, whimsical, pretty neat looking. And then pulling off the raffia, I thought that left behind a really cool looking print. I used a bright red on top of this one. And if you can see, the edges of the Gelli plate are holding on to some of the black paint, and that's creating some really cool texture and grunge as well. That was a DIY texture I had made. I have a video link for that one as well. I'll link that one if you're interested to make your own grid type texture. And then here is paper towel, makes a really cool design. It almost reminds me of like comic book strip kind of thing with the dots. I think it just looks so cool. It's one of my favorite textures. So I thought this print turned out really cool. I love the different textures on this one. The grid and the paper towel texture. And then for our last one, we're going to be doing the Jute Twine. I think of all the strings that I used, the fuzzies on this one was the most pronounced. You can really see those fibers sticking off, especially this one in the corner here. I thought that was a really cool addition, was having those little hairs pick up from the Gelli print. Using my last just base color that I had created earlier. This is my pink base color. Those little hairs were sticking to the Gelli print, so I just pulled that off. But yeah, this one, the little hairs look really cool. And then for our last print here, I've got the purple, kind of purple color that I'm going to be using, almost like a plum. And I had taken just a regular piece of, this was copy paper, and I had crumpled it, and I'm just laying that on to the top and lightly pressing to give a cool crumpled paper texture. More paper towel texture because I love that one. And I had made this embossed brick texture, also on some cardstock. And this is the final print here, the final Gelli print of this little series of string art prints. I think these all turned out really neat. I did a little bit of a different texture in all of them, and I think that really made a cool impact on each of them, gave them their own personalities. So these are the two Raffia prints next to each other. And here we have the Jute Twine prints. These are the rope hemp prints. And here are the just plain twine prints. These were really smooth looking at when I was looking back on this. I realized that all those other ones had some fibers to them and this one was really smooth. So they all had a different look to the final design, and I really had fun making these. I thought that they turned out really cool. I liked these second generation prints as well. I thought that those were really cool pops of color and almost like graphic design type prints. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed watching this video and maybe it gave you some ideas on how to use some string in your jelly prints. Stay tuned for some more videos and subscribe if you haven't already. See you in the next video.